My name is Anthony Aragon. I'm with the National Western Center, and we are glad you are all here tonight for our monthly CAC Plus community meeting. It's wonderful to see so many people in the room and so many people that have also joined us virtually. We have a very full agenda tonight, and so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Before I turn it over to our facilitator, we do have Spanish translation available. Yes. So if you see there's an interpretation, for those virtually joining us, there is an interpretation globe at the bottom of your screen. You do need to select your language of choice, either English or Spanish. I'll give everyone a moment to do that, and then Francisco will also share that message for us.
Buenas tardes a todos. Como siempre, las reuniones del Centro National Western son bilingües. Para poder hacer uso de la interpretación, por favor, seleccionen el globo en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla y escojan el idioma de su preferencia. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, sir. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to our facilitator, Catherine Archuleta, and she will lead us in this evening's meeting and discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony, and welcome to everybody virtually and in person tonight. We're really excited about our agenda tonight. We have a lot of things to share with you and also to hear from the applicants who have submitted their application for the board position for the National Western Senator Authority. So we're really excited to have everybody here. As we take a look at our work tonight, I just want to remind everybody about how we work together. So some of you may be new to this meeting. And the next slide will share with you how we work together in these meetings, that we really focus in on respect and trust, that openness and transparency is really critical. And we work really hard to make sure that we're respecting that openness and transparency, not only for ourselves, but encourage it among everybody who's in the meeting. And we also know that all voices matter. So it's really important that we share, we inspire one another, and that we're really open to new ideas because those voices matter. And also we understand that as a community, we face a number of different realities and every day, and that we need to work through those realities and strive for partnership, really thinking through collaboration and cooperation. And that really sort of circles back to that respect and trust, openness and transparency, and also not only voicing, but giving voice to others. So we'll just remember that. This is our agenda for tonight. We open every meeting with an icebreaker. I'm gonna cut it short a little bit, but we will still have an icebreaker because relationships matter. And even in community meetings like this, it takes just a moment to share a little bit about each other, and over an accumulation of months, and hopefully as we work together through all the work we have before us, we'll learn a little bit more about each other. And it only takes a minute. I know some of you hate icebreakers. I won't look to my left to Brad and identify him as one of those, or myself as one of those, but we'll just keep doing it. And just so that we learn just a little bit about each time. We're going to have a special time this evening with the community board member applicants. And this is really an opportunity for the board applicants to share a little bit about themselves, and also really understand, maybe even entertain some questions, or share some other information that the people on the CAC meeting would like to know more about. We're going to do community updates. That's happenings in the community, an opportunity for community members to share information about the community and what's going on. The NWC update is really with Brad, and some really exciting news, I think, for us tonight. We're going to spend a good portion of our time, hopefully, on the procurement process. We introduced this the last meeting about how this process will work as new developments are situated on the campus. And then we're gonna spend a little bit of time on updating on the equestrian center. So it's a full agenda. I would encourage those of you who are here, if you get a little bit hungry, there's tamales over there on the table. Please help yourself. You're certainly welcome. They're really wonderful tamales, as I understand. So here's the quick icebreaker. And Steve, maybe if we can take a look at the full, after I talk about this, we'll go to the, so we can see the screen of everybody. So I know this is our 4th meeting. And you've talked about what you listen to in your car when you're driving along the highway. You've talked about what you do with an extra free hour of time. You said what your favorite season is. And so tonight's really quick question is, I'm gonna eliminate the why off of that. I'm going to say, what is your favorite tradition or holiday that you celebrate or recognize? So I'm gonna start out because it's always easier if someone starts first. So I'm gonna start out and say that my favorite tradition is pozole on Christmas Eve night. So I would invite Brad.
I think tradition for me is that every Saturday of Labor Day weekend, our family extracts all of the honey from our beehives. Been doing it for like almost 30 years. And it's a good party and people show up every year and we treat it like a holiday.
Wow. I want to go to that.
You're all invited. Saturday of Labor Day weekend, you are absolutely all invited.
My name is Savannah, and my favorite tradition that I observe is Lunar New Year. I really enjoy all the lion dancing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jen Wellborn, with City and County of Denver, and my favorite tradition is that since we've lived close enough to Dick's Sporting Goods Park to see the fireworks on the 4th of July, that we always have people to our house for that holiday, and we do brisket and watch the fireworks. It's my favorite.
Hi everyone, Steve Nally with the National Western Center Authority. My favorite tradition and holiday, Thanksgiving. It's no pressure. You eat a massive meal and that's really it.
And then lay down.
Hang out with family, there's kind of no pressure with other traditions and gifts and things like that. So it's always a good time.
My name's Stephen Ritter. My favorite holiday tradition, my family, I know they get a bad rap, but we have a timeshare in the family forever. And we have it on 4th of July weekend on a lake in North Carolina. So we never trade it. We keep it every year. So the whole family goes. It's actually where they filmed Dirty Dancing, the lake does on. So just we've had it forever. So it's tiny and everything, but it's a nice
Is that building really there?
the lake house is.
Really?
Yes,
Is that
the
Lake
lake house
Mead?
is, yeah.
Is it Lake Mead or Lake?
Lake Lure, North Carolina. Yeah, Lake Lure, by Chimney Rock or outside of.
Wow. Hello, my name is Ernest House Jr. I'm with National Western Center Authority Board. My favorite tradition is, so I'm a member of the Mountain Ute tribe in southwestern Colorado. We have an annual bear dance, and I think since we've been putting a number to it, I think this year is like 160th or 70th, but it's one of the oldest recorded dances in North America. And it's a 3-day long dance, and it launches in spring. And so if there was a new year for my tribe, it would be springtime for renewal and rejuvenation. And so that happens in a month. And so I'm super excited about going down there and taking it off, especially during COVID when, you couldn't do all that stuff. And it was just.
Are you a dancer?
Everyone's a dancer when you go in there. But the interesting thing is that it's a women's choice. So women choose their partner. And so all the women stand on the south side and the men stand on the north side. The entrance is to the east where the sun rises and the singers are on the west. And so you dance day and night and there's breaks in between, but it's a 3-day long thing. At the very end, everyone has a big festival or a feast and everyone breaks bread and has just a big, has a big opportunity just to eat together amongst the community. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra Ruiz Padilla, and also I'm a member of the board also, and I'm a resident in Globeville. I have many traditions and holidays. But one of my favorite holidays is Halloween, because I get to dress up and go with my kids for trick or treating. I also, we also do a lot of rituals and ceremonies to celebrate Pachamama, to celebrate Earth, to celebrate a lot of things that has to do with the sun, with the moon. We do dances, we do food, we do offerings. So I love all those things. I know I look like kind of rebel, but no, I'm very earthy. Very good. And so I'm the one that do all the guiding and everything and all the healing stuff. That's wonderful. I'm a healer.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maria and I live in Santa for many years. And my favorite tradition is in this month, the last on April, we celebrate the kids, the Day of the Niños, the Day of the Kiddos. And I make pictures with flowers for my kids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if we have pink flowers, make it. You wrap the flowers in a paper and make it happen, anything. Yeah, this is my favorite for me.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Santos. I am a resident of Swansea. I've been here for a lot of years. And well, as a Mexican, I have a lot of like holidays, but I have to choose one. So my favorite one would be Christmas, because we all, a family gets together and we do a lot of things, games, crafts with the kids. So we don't sleep at all. I mean, they say like we party, it's not like we party all day and out, but it's kind of, but that would be my favorite day.
Thank you. And yeah, we're talking about, the question is, what is your favorite tradition or holiday?
We're full of traditions in my family. We have lots of different cultures in my family, so we celebrate a lot. But one of my favorite things that we don't do is we don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Just because we really feel like it should be Valentine's Day constantly, right? And you're always affirming your love for each other. And so it's just, we just don't get wrapped up in like the material stuff of some of those days, or Mother's Day. Like my boys honor me all the time by stopping by. What can I do for you? Like, do you need this? And then I have a very serious face. So my boys are always asking me, what's wrong, mama? You okay? Or, you know, so just kind of, we don't celebrate many holidays, but we do celebrate lots of traditions, so.
I'm sorry, I don't know your first name.
Deidre.
Oh, Deidre. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize
Okay.
Deidre.
That's
Will
okay.
will you share with us?
Sure, I'm Deidre Garcia. I'm on the authority board. I absolutely agree with what you said about Valentine's Day. I think if somebody's gonna send you flowers, they should do it any other day of the year, not the day that makes Hallmark the most money, right? But Mother's Day would be my favorite because my kids and I have two daughters and we always do a spa day, and Mother's Day is my favorite day of the year. It's my favorite holiday. It's coming up.
Pause coming. So let's go to our Zoom participants and Carolina.
Hi, I'm Caroline. You can call me Carolina, totally fine. That's what my grandma calls me. My favorite holiday is also Halloween. I also live in Globeville. I heard another person from Globeville saying they love Halloween too. And I really love how our neighborhood enjoys it so much. I love to decorate my house. We put up lights. We have scary, spooky music playing. I put out a big bowl of candy for the kids to come by, and it really is just so much fun. So that would be my favorite holiday and tradition.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Miley. I'm with CSU Spur, and I am also on the Halloween bandwagon. I love dressing up. It's my favorite. I love the fall. So nice to see you all.
Chris?
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris. I work with the city in the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And my favorite holiday has got to be Pride Month.
I can't read that far. Susanna.
Hello, everybody. My name is Susana Reola. You can call me Susie. I'm a community health worker, promotora de salud with Create Results. And I'm originally from Mexico. And my favorite tradition, I have 3 children. So we celebrate their birthdays with a big piñata. They have the opportunity to choose their character. Sometimes we made ourselves. But like it's a big deal in every birthday. It has to be a piñata, and it's kind of the attraction for our neighbors. Like everybody wants to come to our birthday parties just to hit that piñata. Thank you.
And thank you, Susana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ann Hayes. I'm with Westfield Company. We have a business, we're developers close by in Elyria, Swansea. And my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving for all the same reasons that were given before. So it's good to see everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Fernando. You may have lost.
No, I'm right here. Sorry, just jumping from the car to the house. Fernando Pineda with Create Results. And Catherine triggered my memories. Pozole is amazing dish from the state of Guerrero, where I am from Mexico. But we eat pozole every Thursday. That's the tradition. So I wish I could do that every Thursday, but not. But I love that one, as well as I shared many of the other ones you share. So thank you for the memories.
Nora. Anna.
Hi, everyone. Yes, hi, my name is Ana Varela. I am here sitting in tonight on behalf of the GES Coalition. I'm also a resident of Elyria. I definitely adore Halloween, but if I have to pick a favorite tradition, that would be New Year's. It feels to me like for at one moment, right, midnight, every single year, I feel a collective sense of reflection and intention. And I just feel that around the world. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Anthony.
Anthony. Yeah, good evening. My name's Anthony Jelinek. I'm a 3rd generation Globillan. And I'd have to say my favorite holiday would be Easter, because I love the snow and all, but the green starts coming around that time. Jesus is resurrected, of course, and the dandelion or daffodils and tulips are starting to pop. So it gets me excited for what's coming up in the flowers in the summer.
Thank you, Anthony. Angela.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Garcia. I am a Global resident. I am also a member of the Community Investment Fund. And like Anthony Jelinek, I love Easter. It is a time for renewal and hope and new beginnings. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anthony Aragon.
Good evening, everybody. Anthony Aragon with the National Western Center. I'm going to go with tradition, and I've actually got to experience this tradition twice on my trip. I'm actually in Puerto Vallarta, and what I love is when I'm here, a sunrise morning run on the Melicon, just looking at the water and just watching life begin.
What's exciting about all of this information, it really shows to the diversity, but also the similarities among us, that we all share in traditions, but we also, you know, there's some of us have the same traditions, but I also heard some new traditions that I hadn't heard about ever before. So that's what makes community. So we have, again, a wonderful opportunity tonight to introduce the applicants who have submitted an application for a board position at the National Western Center Authority. And we have board members here tonight who are also here to here to learn more about you. And so we thought we would offer just an opportunity for each of you to introduce yourselves, maybe talk a little bit about why you're interested in being on a board position, and if you feel comfortable, maybe there's some questions that members of the CAC would like to ask you. So we'll sort of move forward with that. And maybe we can start with you, Savannah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Savannah. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Globeville resident. I've been living in Globeville since the end of 2020, so I'm a bit newer to the community. But I've really loved living in Globeville. It's the only place I've ever lived in Colorado, and there's such a strong sense of community. And my interest in serving on the board is because I really want to support and uplift that community and find more ways to get involved in that way. Before I moved to Colorado, I spent 7 years living in Hawaii. I worked at a nonprofit in Hawaii, helping the board of directors to make decisions and support the nonprofit. So I had experience both working with the board of directors and translating information from the staff up to the board and from the board down into the communities. I think that that's something that I could bring to this role, and I'm really excited to learn more and support the community in that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Savannah.
Would you like to ask one tiny question?
Sure.
What did the nonprofit do?
It was an environmental education nonprofit. It was about helping connect children and families to the nature that was all around them, because Hawaii has the largest population of both endemic and endangered species in the world.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you. Nancy, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name is Nancy Santos. I've been living here in Swansea since 2000. I started getting involved on the community since 2007 with the cross community started. So since then, I was volunteering just in churches. So when I had the opportunity on cross community, for me was like very good. I was getting to know new people, learning new things. And since then I started getting involved into health study, because we lived in Summit County for a couple of years, and then we moved to Denver, and it was very, very different. So I knew that something wasn't right. So I started getting in these researches in the community, even with my family and friends, and getting a lot of people to get involved in all these health studies. And I just love the way we know in our communities all the how should I say, sorry, I forgot the name, organizations and the people in our areas. I mean, we get to know all the people who's living in the area. So when somebody moves out, we know when they move out, because we always talking. We know, even if we say, oh, that's the girl that lives in the other corner, or she lives by the church, by the rec center. So we know the people very good in our areas, and I'm very happy to be volunteering in different many ways. So now I'm involved in the health study that is going here. And actually I help to the Cultivando that's in Commerce City. So I have a lot of friends from different communities. So I really like to get involved in different things, and that's what I do. And I love to do.
Thank you. Maybe we'll go to Carolina.
All right, so as I already mentioned, I live in Globeville. I started serving on the board of directors for the Tepeyac Community Health Center, and at the beginning of this year, I was elected as the vice chair of that board as well. I have a background in education, education communication, science communication, things like that. So jumping to healthcare communication in the middle of the pandemic was something that made a lot of sense for me. It made me feel like this was the change that I needed to be making in the world. Our community has definitely been subject to a lot of different things, a lot of different deficits in certain areas. So working with Tepeyac Community Health Center has been really a great way to kind of remedy that. And Tepeyac just opened their new facility, just basically like a stone's throw away from the National Western Center. So I'm over there all the time, and I really would love the opportunity to join this board and kind of make these community connections and really just build a better, brighter future for all of us and, you know, our future, our children, things like that. So here I am. And if you have any questions about healthcare, feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Carolina. Maria.
My name is Maria de Santiago and I live in Swansea 2009. And I'm part of the Guest Health Coalition right now. And I want to be part of this project because I want to learn about everything, about we can help the communities. Because I know the communities need a lot of help. You know, and it's time to be voice for them. Because sometimes you guys live somewhere else, but we live here. And I think we know more about the communities because we see it. And sometimes it's really good to help them because it's more easy when you ask for a help and they give you $1, $2, but I think it's more or perfect when somebody help you with a job or when somebody show you how you can do something because sometimes they think, how can I raise my kids? Yes, I'm sick or I don't know, but you need to think in something else. But we are more than just two heads. You know, I do construction for many years. And sometimes I said, I'm tired of construction. I want to do something else because I want to be clean one day. All the time when I do construction with cement, with grout, with many things, you know, it's really good because sometimes they tell you, oh, I love that job that you do. But I want to do something else for my people.
Thank you. Stephen.
Stephen, I lived out in Gloveville since about 8 years now. I run my own business and kind of two businesses actually doing insurance claims and doing real estate appraisals. So I spend a lot of time in the community building that business. My undergrad is actually food and resource economics. So from University of Florida, and then my graduate is data science, my master's degree. So it's a lot of, I think that a lot of that will help with the stock show and growth and everything. And then before that, I was a medic in Aurora for about 10 years. So I've worked a lot really the front line with helping the community and helping the homeless. And I've really have spent 48 hour shifts with homeless people and really getting to know and going into people's homes in emergency situations. And currently I didn't do it last summer, but I'm a wildfire reserve firefighter too. So I do a lot of community activities and things like that with living over here and having the real estate side and seeing that aspect of the growth and everything in the communities. I just think I would be a really good fit on the healthcare side and on the education side on growing our community and everything and just making the whole community better.
What did you say your last name was?
Ritter, yeah.
So now is an opportunity, thank you, everybody, and especially for expressing interest in serving on this important board. I mean, volunteerism is always important to any of the growth and health. So for all of you, thank you very much for expressing that interest and being willing to be considered. I'm wondering if we can open it up to members of the CAC and ask if any of you have questions that you'd like to pose to any or all of the applicants.
Sure, can I go?
Sure, Kim.
Okay, Stephen, so what, have you served on any other boards?
I have not, no. I've done a lot I've worked in healthcare a lot. Like I said, I was a paramedic for a long time and was a leader as far as that goes. And now it's just kind of running my own businesses and everything. I'm just kind of being my own boss right now. But when I do my wildfires, I am the tender driver, which is a very large water truck. So I am actually in charge of the wildland team of a bunch of brand new rookie guys and like in death situations like that. So, but as far as community growth boards now.
You want to ask that of everybody? Or just?
Yeah, I mean, someone could ask a different question.
Okay. Other questions from the CAC?
I have a question for Caroline, Steve, and Savannah, since you guys are newly to the neighborhood. Well, I know Steve has been here for 8 years. But I just want to know, have you done any work with the 3 communities? Because I know you from Globeville, I know they're from Swansea, but one of the most important things is that we're not doing this just for our neighborhood, but for the 3 neighborhoods. Have you done any work on the 3 neighborhoods? Have you get to know the people in the 3 neighborhoods, or you just interested in being part of the board in the National Western? Whoever wants to answer first.
I'm happy to take it first. I have not done a ton of outreach into the other 2 communities, and that's something that I would love to learn from you as a former resident of the other communities now that you're in Global and have been serving on the board already. That's definitely something I think I would want to learn, or, you know, kind of have you help build those relationships for me, because it's something that I don't have the experience of doing. Carolina,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. I didn't want to jump on top of anybody else's answer. So in my role with the Tepeyac board, I do a lot of outreach specifically to the GES communities. We do, you know, accept patients from all over the state of Colorado, all over the Denver area, but mainly our focus is the GES community. And now that we are kind of getting into a warmer time of the year, warmer season, we will have a lot more community events. Last spring, summer, and fall, I was involved in, I can't even count how many various community events that were mainly focused on the GES communities. I would say that since I live in Globeville, I probably end up doing the most stuff over here. I'm over in Elyria a lot as well, especially because the Tepeyac new facility is over there. Swansea, a little bit less so because I don't live there and it's not where our facility is, but it is still a very, very important neighborhood for us to focus on. And so a lot of our outreach is specifically catered to the GES communities, and that is kind of where my focus area lies.
Thank you.
So yeah, even before I lived here and I was living over in southern Denver, but when I was working as a medic in Aurora, we did transports all over the state and everything. And so we actually would pick up people from homes, taking them either to the hospital or home from the hospital. If they didn't have a ride, they didn't have a car, they just had no way, or just physically couldn't get home, they would call us to actually help them move back home. So I know I've been in the homes over here. We would actually work overflow with Denver Health. So when they would get really, really busy and hospitals would start overflowing in the city and everything. People don't realize that that happens all the time, actually, especially in the bigger cities. We would actually have to be their backup and be centered here. And then also my family doesn't live out here. So a lot of holidays, I like to do volunteer work. So I've done a couple of years with Project Angel Heart and help them deliver meals and everything. And I came to realize it's really when the holidays is when they don't need help, because that's when everyone's helping. So I do want to get a little more involved in actually helping them like throughout the rest of the year when they're short staffed, because that's when they get the overflow of people. So I have done some work over at Project Angel Heart over there on Washington Street.
Thank you. Other questions from the CAC?
Yeah, this is Angela. I have a question for all the candidates. This position will involve having to go out to the community. What are your ideas for outreach to all 3 communities, knowing that all 3 neighborhoods, knowing all 3 are different, but we're all one community as GES? What are your ideas as to doing outreach in these areas about the National Western?
Yes. This is Nancy Angela. I have no problem because I have family living in Globeville, also in Elyria and Swansea, so I don't have a problem reaching out anywhere if I have to go, because I love to do volunteering and doing this with love and passion. So I don't really mind or have a problem reaching out to people.
I just want to clarify. Thank you, Nancy. What kind of ideas would you have for the National Western to do outreach to the community? Like, an ice cream social, a barbecue, etc. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking for specifically. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and jump in if nobody else wants to. I know that a lot of you are there in person and it's kind of hard for me to see who's about to talk. So I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anybody else's answer. But for me, the outreach that's already something that's, kind of like my bread and butter. I love doing outreach. It's one of the things I do the most. And so for me, what that would look like functionally would be incorporating the National Western into the number of events that I already know are going to be going on with Tepeyac. We do so much community outreach, so many different events that I feel this is one of the main things that appealed to me about the potential to serve on this board is I know how relevant it would be to include this organization in some of the events that I know are already going to be happening, already are focused on our target population, our neighborhood areas. And we have, so many different kinds of events. I also work with a couple other community organizations that are mainly event organized. And so really just kind of gathering that information and saying, hey, there's an event coming up. Do we, as the National Western, want to be involved? Do we want to have a table? Do we want to have a booth? Do we want to have, information, flyers? How do we want to participate in the number of events that I know are already taking place, as opposed to, there's nothing wrong with maybe starting our own events from scratch. It just takes a lot more work, and it would be, easier to jump in on another event that already is serving our target neighborhoods, our target population. And really that kind of forms the cohesive community that I personally am so passionate about trying to build in our neighborhoods. So.
I'll go ahead, I'm not sure. We did and the other Anthony on there, I know the tree program was a great program the last week. And I got a tree for myself during it. But also during college, to help me be through college, I actually taught kids swim lessons and the local community pool. I thought that would be something interesting for me personally to do, to kind of jump on and just do free swim lessons down there. Just because it's some education I have. And I did want to get more into, I love playing sports and everything. So getting into more of the coaching of the sports and in the community, or just personal outreach programs that I would like to do. And I know at Argo Park, it looks like they started playing a lot more of the youth soccer games and everything like that. So if there are other, in the new park over on top of the highway now, I'm sure they're going to start doing a lot of programs over there. So I'd love to be involved in that too.
Well, I'm Maria, and I don't have any problem to go with Elyria, Swansea, or Globeville. I do many times to flyers because we do another events in guest health. So I don't know a lot about this, but and I hear you guys do this and that, but I don't see anything because a couple days ago we went to the park and clean. Nancy, Sandra, me, and Anna, and I don't see nobody else. So I think it's that time to and see it. Because it's really easy said, I do this and this and this, and at the end, nobody do anything. I think it's really important, say and do it. I think it's the best way. How? Because I told somebody else a couple days ago when I work, I go to Castle Rock and I saw beautiful places. And I know because they are rich people. We are not. But we can have clean yards, clean streets, clean houses. I think everybody knows how to do it. And I know maybe you guys know many things, or you guys have degrees or things like that. I don't know, not me, but I can do many things. And I'm not scared to clean. I'm not scared to help people or to help people because it's not a way just get a tree and put a tree. You have to love your tree, water your tree, and it's many things to do it here. And I'm here because I want to show people love each other because sometimes we're not. Sometimes we said, okay, you know my name right now, but maybe you not love me that whole day. Maybe you have to have more time to say, oh, I love Maria because she do that. Or Maria showed me do this. And I think, I don't know, yes, I have a time. I don't know, yes, I told Anthony, my husband is not really well right now. And I think we have to go to Mexico because he has a health problem. But I'm here. Yeah, you told me, perfect. Yes, not okay.
I have a quick Oh, is that everyone? Sorry.
I think so.
I haven't gone yet, sorry. Angela, this is Savannah in the room here. I wanna uplift what Caroline said because I think Caroline's approach is similar to mine with a lot of these opportunities. I hear about events that are happening in the GES community, and I think the National Western Center could benefit from being involved in some of these events, like the tree planting that Briggs Collective did last weekend. Or whether it's stuff that the Tepeyac board is doing. As Caroline said, I agree. I think there are opportunities potentially for us to have for the National Western Center to have their own events or programs. But exactly to Maria's point, there are also lots of things that are happening in the community that the community doesn't know about. And so it's a matter of not necessarily having more things going on, but making sure that we know how to get the word out about the things that we already know that are going on and leveraging the partnerships we can have with each other to make that happen.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
And Maria was gonna.
Yeah, because I live in Swansea and I love Swansea, but I love Globio and I love Elyria too. You know, because it's not just my community, it's not just my neighbors, it's not just my people. No matter what, yes, it's my dad or my mom or my sister, no. I don't know you, but you can be my friend and we can work together, you know? It's more easy when we are a team.
Yes.
And it's more easy when you listen. I know my English is not really well, but many people speak Spanish. You have to speak Spanish to introduce yourself because I know you speak English and you go with somebody and they don't speak English. How you can communicate with them? You have to speak Spanish too, you know, because sometimes they said, oh no, you are late because you don't speak English. It's not that true. Yes, you speak Spanish is the same. Because yes, I speak Spanish and you English, you're not bigger than me because you speak English and not me. And I know in Elyria, Globio, in Swansea, many people speak Spanish. So I think it's the best way that we are together. And maybe you know more things than me, but maybe not. Maybe I know more things than you. We don't know, because sometimes I hear somebody say, but I go to college and I don't care. You know, you are not bigger than nobody because you go to college. It's not like that. It's not that way. You can be a medical and you can be a lawyer and you can be whatever, but you don't know, you know, yes, that. And another people don't go to school and more things. But yes, we are together, we are the same. I think, I don't know. But I think it's the best way. We have different people, not just the same people, not just the same faces. Yes, you are in a meeting, you see just the same people all the time. And now it's time, bring more people, new ideas, different ideas, because I think it's the way how we can learn in a different way, not just the same way. Because life have different ways and we choose the best one.
It looks like Anna wants to ask a question in the chat.
Anna?
Hi, yeah, I just kind of echoing a little bit Angela's question here. I would like to know what examples of measurements for successfully representing the community would you have as a board member, right? Because this is a position reflective of the neighborhood and our neighbors, right? So what to you, and you know, I think I'll just open it up to whoever wants to answer, would be a measurement of how you know you're tuned in, you're plugged into the community, and that you're being a great representative.
Would you like to take that?
I'll go ahead and jump in. Oh, is somebody in the room going to go ahead? I didn't mean to cut somebody off. Sorry.
Caroline, I'll go first this time. And I was just going to say, I think this is Savannah in the room, that having attendance at some of these events, kind of exactly getting to what Angela was just talking about and being able to have that dialogue with the community and that engagement, and using those engagement opportunities as a way to connect with the community and learn if what we're doing is having an impact or what the community might like to see that's different, having those touch points would be a big way of measuring if, you know, if we can get people to these events and then get their feedback on what they think about the service that we as board members are providing or the actions that the Western Center Board is taking. That would be a great way to start getting some of that feedback and measuring if we're achieving our objectives or not.
I'll go ahead and jump in now if nobody else in the room wants to speak. So from my experience working with the Tepeyac board, these kind of, I guess, metrics or quality, you know, how well are we reaching our population? These are kind of things that we can answer both quantitatively with, you know, statistical analysis of, okay, what's the percentage of, you know, people in the community that attended this event, or what was our attendance like? And, you know, was it mostly people from the community or not? And then we also want to look at things qualitatively, you know, okay, did the event go well? Did people come out and seem like they were really interested? Did people come out and say, hey, I had a really good time, this was a great event? Did people benefit from the event? So, you know, just I've heard a couple of people mentioning the Birdseed Collective tree planting. They were also giving out rain barrels, and I know that they keep count of how many trees they've planted and how many rain barrels they've given out. And so this is a great way to keep a track of how are we actively impacting the community in a sort of quantitative way in the terms of how many trees, how many rain barrels. But then when we look at events like these, we can also look and see, oh, I see so many happy faces around me. There's kids in here having a blast. You know, there's adults who are saying, wow, this rain barrel is going to be great for my garden, or wow, you know, this tree is really, we really needed the shade. So I think keeping both of these things in mind, especially when we are having events that the community is attending, seeing, you know, how many people showed up. Was it more than we expected? Less than we expected? If it was less, why maybe did that happen? Can we do some more promotion to get a better turnout and really involve the community more? And at the heart of that, I think, is the true spirit of the mission of we want to connect with the community. We want people to come out. So when we live authentically to our mission, we're able to fulfill it more easily instead of just, oh, well, we got to hit our target. We got to hit X many people and, you know, we don't really care as much. No, it's a lot easier if you do really care about your community getting the help it needs.
I can answer your question too, Anna. Well, like you have been attending to these meetings since last year too. And we have a big issue of that people is not trusting. We lost the trust of part of our community to come to different organizations or different meetings. Like I always said, since COVID, everything like totally like shut down for some people. And for me, it's better to go like knocking doors and talking to people to kind of like promote more, that we have more programs in our communities. There's a lot of things that people can learn from, but we have to gain again the trust of our people in our communities, because that's the problem we're having today. And like Maria said, that's why in each meetings we see same faces, same people, because we have this problem with our people. A lot of people, well, I'm gonna use it as this term, outsiders came to our communities and they were just promising things, so they just stayed in the table. They never did anything, just like a research. Okay, where is the research? What's gonna represent? So we haven't get any of that. So there's a lot of people, that's why we lost the trust in our people. So we need to go like knocking doors again, one by one, and talking to them, promoting the new programs or projects that are going in the community, but we have to go like more often. That's my opinion.
And I'll answer your question too, Anna. I think just the kind of as the metric that you were saying, as far as seeing success, is people talking about it. So people talking about the tree thing was in the local news. Getting the mayor, sounds like he is obviously, this has kind of been an area that he has focused on quite a bit, but getting the more higher level political people involved and having them talking about it and asking the questions. And I agree, funding's not the ultimate answer, but it does, that's part of it too. But as far as the government not putting that money into the wash park areas, the areas that are clean and everything, but having that money come this way, and now with the highway done, I think there's so many other things that they can run with that, and just kind of getting people coming to the area, talking about the area, getting that food desert taken care of, and just getting people. I mean, I think that's one huge thing. Get a grocery store over here. Those are just things, just getting people talking about the fresh food markets and things like that, but giving reasons for outsiders to come to the area, because that will actually that brings in more of that wanting to help grow more, and to really, and that everyone benefits from that. I mean, it was, I know Ronald Reagan said the rising sea lifts all ships. So if we can really get everyone to kind of rise up, it really helps everyone in the community and everything.
Other questions from the CAC?
I have another question, something that Maria mentioned, 73% of residents in the three neighborhoods are Hispanic, Latino, and a lot of them don't speak English, they're Spanish speakers. How can you do outreach to those families that don't speak English? And that goes to the ones that don't speak Spanish. I'm here to read them. Okay.
I mean, I'll answer. I mean, I really hate to separate that. I would say that we're all American. So I really don't think that we should really be kind of separating that. And if that is something that needs to be done, then yes, I would go with somebody who does speak Spanish and kind of helps that side of it. So I don't know. I don't see that difference really in it. I know that the communication parts of it is difficult, but really as far as overall cultural difference and everything, I don't see that. We all face the same issue. We all, like I said, the grocery store is the same issue. The tree cover is the same issue. The crime's the same issue. Like doesn't matter. That doesn't see, I have issues at my house just the same. You have issues at your house. I'm sure. I just don't. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you live in GES.
Yes. I mean, that's everywhere. That's a big city. We have to expect that. So, I mean, if I see an obstacle, I look at it and I go, okay, well, this is an obstacle. What's the solution? I'll go with someone that speaks Spanish. I grew up in Miami, so I was a minority growing up. Especially my high school is actually very Venezuelan. My high school, and some of my best friends are all from South America and everything. So, I mean, I see no issue with that. And honestly, it's exciting because you learn all those different foods and cultures, and there's so many different, just like, you were talking about your family traditions and everything. And that's cool for me to learn about. Just like I think I'd be excited to teach people. My family doesn't have really deep culture or anything, but as far as food goes, my family doesn't cook much, but I just love to learn more about that and everything. So I mean, if it's an obstacle, or just use Google Translate.
I know, that's right.
I don't think that's the most effective way. I think actually every time I've traveled to South America, that's what we use. Or luckily, my friends that speak pretty good English. I've done a lot of backpacking in Patagonia and Argentina, and Peru, and actually gone to the villages and everything where they don't even have a written language of the villages over there. So really communicating over there was an extreme challenge. So I think my Spanglish could kind of help me get through around here personally.
I'm happy to answer the question, but Maria, I saw you had your hand up first.
Yeah, because I know you guys have I don't know you this part of this group for get work for peacekeeping or something else, and it's really good because the communities, I know they need the same help, the same work, tire work, driveway up, or things like that. And I think it's good. Yes, we are companies here, we work. Not just go to Castle Rock and work over there, because sometimes when I'm over there and I saw my phone and it's 2:00, I have to drive 1 hour to come and pick up my kids. And I said, sometimes it's hard to do that. And I said, yes, we have the, not me. Yes, it's me perfect, but yes, it's somebody else have the opportunity to work over here, because sometimes I saw people cut the grass and they come too far away, and maybe they can find another job over there and we work here. And I talked to Nancy, we can do many things and have people working, because sometimes they are single mother and they don't work because they have to take care of the kids or things like that.
Sandra, your question is one of the reasons I struggled, and Anthony can attest that I didn't even know if I was a good fit for this board because I only speak English. And I have really enjoyed living in the Globeville community and having the opportunity to learn and have some exposure to Spanish. But that's something that I would lean on either a Google Translate or working with bilingual people in the community to help me get more immersed in being able to speak to more members of the community.
I'll go ahead and jump in if there's no one in the room about to answer. I do speak Spanish, but I have a problem with my hearing. English is my first language, so I tend to default to that. When we have been doing outreach with Tepeyac, a majority of our patient population speaks Spanish and prefers to speak Spanish. And so we have implemented a whole variety of different ways to eliminate a language barrier as an obstacle when it comes to community outreach. We have a lot of promotoras who go out into the community and they speak Spanish fluently. When we do outreach and there is a non-Spanish speaking person involved, it is always in kind of a partnership system with someone who does speak fluently. We also have a whole bunch of different translators for if we're having a larger meeting and a larger audience and we want to be sure we can conduct things, you know, like with this meeting, fluidly in English and in Spanish simultaneously. And so although this is definitely a very, very, very important thing to address, people should never be left out of a solution simply because of a language barrier. In my experience, it really hasn't been that much of a barrier because of the solutions we have implemented. And it really does create a better kind of cohesive team experience when you are working with another person, especially doing outreach in the neighborhood. It really tends to go pretty well. So.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask this question just because living in this neighborhood, I live in the area, of course, but I move a lot to Elyria and Swansea because I used to walk a lot, doing a lot of outreach and indoors. And now I'm living in Globeville. I know there's a difference because a lot of people speak more English in Globeville than Elyria and Swansea. But living in Elyria, I saw this is not probably a problem, that a lot of people felt like they were being left behind because they didn't speak English. Because most of the organizations and groups and whoever comes to the neighborhood, they only speak English and they don't like to bother with the Spanish speakers. And we still see that in other organizations that they only do English speaking because they want to bother. But we are three communities and we do have different, like talking about traditions, we have a lot of people that Spanish, English, bilingual. And it's important that no one feels left behind if we're doing this. And I'm a member now and I'm very open to work with anyone that wants to speak Spanish, that wants to speak English. I know my English is not that good, but I mean, I try and I can help anyone in Spanish and English. So I don't think that's gonna be a problem if you want to speak English or you want to speak Spanish. I think I'm here also to help whoever really wants to work with these three communities. And I'm keep saying three communities because that's how what we do represent. We don't represent only Globeville, we don't represent only Elyria or Swansea. We don't represent our own interests, we represent these three communities. And of course, our families, because we live here. But it's very important that if we're gonna create a relationship between the National Western Center and our three communities, we have to be open to work with everyone here in these three communities.
I have something. Sandra, thank you for saying that. I also want to say, as a monolingual English speaking person, somebody came to my door a few weeks back. They only spoke Spanish. And so we didn't get across what needed to be done. And I asked them if they had any information in English and they didn't. So I don't know what they wanted. And I felt kind of bad because it might've been good information for me to have or to use. So, you know, our communities are, as you said, our GES as a community, our neighborhoods are all different. And it's good. That's a good thing. People realize that lump us all together as GES, but our neighborhoods are very different. And I think that having Sandra, who is a bilingual, is a huge boon to this community and to the National Western. And if we get somebody else who is only monolingual English speaking, then I think that can be worked out in between those two people. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? Is to be able to build bridges between the neighborhoods and communities. I also think that Gail had a question, and Gail, I don't know if you ever got to ask your question.
Oh, thank you. No, so I was just thinking, can you tell me about the last event you attended at the National Western Center complex or the Coliseum?
Oh,
Anyone can tell, yeah.
I mean, I've done the stock show.
You have to start.
Yeah, I've gone every year to the stock show, kind of mother to go to that.
And
I grew up in the country, so.
okay, thank you. All right.
Nami, I go to the events to see the animals or things like that with my kiddos, but I never go in a meeting or something like that.
But you've gone to the stock
Oh,
show?
yes, yes, I love it all the time. I like to bring my kids, see, that's okay. I like to bring my kids see the animals or enjoy the festival they have it. I love it. Yeah.
I have, well, I've been in these meetings here last year, some of them, some of not, because I have family issues and sometimes I cannot get connected. But I come very often because I love to come to dance, you know, the dances they do here. But on January, I mean, for the forest things, we love a lot. We do that a lot in Mexico, or in Zacatecas. So that's a part of like coming and see, but I'm always around this area.
I was also here for the stock show in January.
Okay, and Caroline?
I was actually just there a couple weekends ago. There was a beer fest going on, which I really enjoyed. It was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Really just a blast. I really like living so close too, so I can always see, oh, what's going on today? Oh, what's going on now? Just the other day, I saw there was a whole bunch of people leaving. They had bags, they had interesting things. And I think it was a thrift festival, a thrift convention going on. And that seemed really cool too. But I was a little bit busy that day. I did not attend that. It did look like a fun time. There's always a cool event going on over there. So I try to keep my eyes peeled and attend whenever I can.
Great. So the reason I asked that question is, I really want all of our neighbors to experience the great events that are here and, you know, what the National Western Center has to offer. So, what is your plan to get our neighbors here? Like, what, do you feel there are barriers, for our neighbors getting to these events? And how can we help
Some of
get
that
our folks here?
is, now the rents are too high in these communities. The jobs, well, the payment is very low. So sometimes you have to decide, like in my case, I'm a single mom, I'm a widow, I have 2 girls. For me, it's very hard to attend mostly every time that they have an event. Cause I have to think like, okay, we're just allowed to come on January twice a month. That's all we have. I mean, we can come to see, you know, la charreria, that's how we say in Spanish, or just come to see the horses, because I don't have all the money to spend. So sometimes for the people in our communities, it's very hard. I mean, because we always have to be saving money to pay rent, pay bills, or even buy our own foods. So it's very difficult. So I want to come here as volunteering, or however you want to call it, and just let people know that maybe there's opportunities that one day, I mean, the Western Center want to make sweepstakes, just give out some tickets. I mean, and they can just pay the half of it, not get it for free. I mean, that could be a very big help in our communities. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because when you are involved in one of those things and when you know what's going on and what happened, you can tell them. Before I can say, oh, let's go to there because maybe they cannot tell me, give me the money because the tickets are really expensive. Maybe not for other people, but for almost the more people they are expensive. And we came because sometimes the school of my kids, they give you the tickets and you come and see it. And it's really, it's perfect because you can go for free. But I think it's because of ticket, but you can, when we know more how we can say, or how we can help them to come, and it's perfect. Yes, I told you that too. When I was around and I said, oh, yes, it's me, I want to put flowers over here and do this over here, and can be more beautiful for inside, no, for outside, not just inside. You know, and because sometimes people can be more happy when see something else. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think many my neighbors come in the charreria like Sandra said, because we are Mexican, we love the horses, we love the animals. Maybe not to the when do something in English, I don't know. But I can wear this something Mexican or animals or things like that.
So you feel like so you're saying not knowing about the events and then also that it's expensive to attend them, those are the barriers.
Steve? So like I said, I work for myself. I don't really have a lot of play time. And I try to save my money because I'm always very nervous about spending money and everything, especially in today's economy. So personally, I don't really do a lot of the events and the beer festivals and things like that. My free time is just hiking, so it's free. But now that you mentioned that, something just popped in my head though, having like a free shuttle around town. I mean, maybe that's just something because one, you can have the outreach, and two, have a free shuttle that goes around town, or maybe some doing like a voucher for like an Uber or something like that. But and just having maybe certain areas, a smaller shuttle system to actually get people to come over and give them ride homes, make sure they get them safely, especially beer festivals. But I think that would be something nice, and like I said, I don't really go out to spend the money. I'd be okay with driving a shuttle around and meeting people.
Or maybe something else, because sometimes mom and dad and 2 kiddos, but one of the kiddos is 8 years old, maybe he can come for free.
Yeah.
So you can bring mom and dad and 1 kiddo and the other one for free. You know, sometimes it's a really good idea, because sometimes you think, okay, yes, I have me, my husband and 3 kids. So I said 5. Yes, it's $50, it's 250. So it's a lot, because you can have the food for the whole week. And we bring them, but now the time, but yes, you bring them, yes, you said, okay, I want everybody enjoy this. So yes, you are 4 people, but one of those is not high age, bring them, you know, mom and dad and the kiddos.
Yeah, you can say your 8-year-old is like 5.
And it's weird because
Sorry. Oh, no, keep going.
it's weird because my dad told me one day, because I said, my dad asked me, how is your tree? And I said, it's like this. And my dad said, no. When you said your kiddo is like this, your animal is like this, and you plant this like that. So it's different. So I said, my kiddo is like this, but I'm not like this.
Yeah, but sometimes the parking lot, it's a little bit expensive. Like one day, well, one of my friends, they were like, you wanna come to dance? I was like, sure, how much are the tickets there? He told me, he's like, well, it's $83. I was like, oh, that's fine. So I brought my daughter. I was like, well, we're gonna have to sacrifice something. So, and when we got here, they were like, it's $20 for the parking. I was like, what? I mean, like I pay 160 something, and now the parking. And I was like, you know what? I prefer to walk. So I went all the way back to Swansea and walk again here. So sometimes it is difficult.
So we need a community parking lot.
Yeah.
I've had friends ask from out of town if they could park. at
Oh,
my
yeah.
place.
I live in Gloveville. I walk all the time. And under that bridge is not, it's scary. It's scary.
There are 2 hands up.
Okay,
Chris
yeah.
was first, and then AE next.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to chime in really quickly to share that we're on the same wavelength about that free transportation service around the community. The Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and our partners just recently did launch the Denver Connector to offer free kind of transportation for folks who are in the Globeville, Elyria, Swansea area, as well as in the Montbello community as well. So I dropped a flyer in the chat, and feel free to pass that information around. We're trying to get the word out about this really amazing new resource for the community. So just wanted to chime in with that.
Perfect, thanks. Can I just do a time check for everyone? I know that we asked the applicants to come and spend some time with us. I just want to be sure we don't need to cut it off short. It's just whatever the CAC would like to do in this process. I know AE, you have a question. If you all want to continue, I just want to let you know that we can do whatever you want at this meeting. Just let us know how you'd like to proceed. So think about that. You might want to put something in the chat just to give me a hint on how you'd like to proceed. And then we'll go to AE now.
So hi folks. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
can you hear me? Okay, I can barely hear you, but that's okay. I was unable to come in for the first half hour, so I'm totally receptive to being told, hey, that's already been answered. Go ahead and listen to the first half hour. No problem. To the applicants and and everyone, I really endorse all of the conversation about outreach and engagement to get people to be involved in the activities. But the authority board is something else as well. So I want to get the applicants' impressions of how they would handle the role of being in a position of creating accountability to the future decisions that still have to be made in the development of the project, budget decisions. The authority board does it is the quality control for the utilization of resources, the vetting of the staff design, staff priorities. It's a collaborative authority with the authority office. It has the kinds of things that have, in my experience over the time of being involved in this, and I look forward to talking to you folks more. There's a possibility that you can engage with more individuals out here in the neighborhoods in the process of getting to know what this all involves. But it's not always the most transparent process. Sometimes there's technical information that could be brought out for more discussion with folks in the neighborhoods to help participate in decisions and to really feel like the constituency of the neighborhood is the steward population and the partnered population with what is a publicly supported, tax supported, state and local, et cetera, supported financially project. So my question to you is, how do you, are you receptive to developing a larger exchange of what goes on in the board of directors into the door-to-door engagement to broaden the awareness of how this project unfolds and how we can, as a larger constituency, be engaged in designing it and going forward and optimizing what it could fulfill? That may seem vague, but it is part of the role of the authority board. And I think it's something that over the years hasn't been developed as far as it can be, as far as looping things out into a more general understanding. So, and if you would say your name when you reply, because unfortunately, I do apologize. I didn't get in for the first half hour. I had an overlap, so I'm not recognizing folks by face. Thank you.
Savannah's here and in the room, and I'm glad to share. Yes, I think that's a major part of what this role should be. It speaks to the agreements that we saw initially at the very beginning of the meeting, that transparency is a big part of this process. And I think it speaks exactly to what Nancy and Maria had shared earlier about wanting to rebuild trust in the community and across the communities as a whole And so I think to do this role without doing the parts that you've described would be doing a disservice to the role and to the three communities.
This is Caroline. I'll go ahead and answer next. So I absolutely agree. In my experience on the board with Tepeyac, I'm also in the Executive and Finance Committee, which means we deal with a lot of numbers and budgets and spreadsheets and data, et cetera, et cetera. And what that really means for me is that translates to I'm ultimately, I feel, the most accountable to my fellow community members. That's why I do what I do. I wouldn't be doing what I do without the love I have for my community. And so with my previous background is in science education and healthcare communications. So taking something complex like a big budgetary spreadsheet that you look at and is totally overwhelming, but then breaking that down into what does it really mean for me, for my community members, and communicating that basic message. I think that's so incredibly important, because otherwise we will lose people in our community who are saying, I don't want to hear about this entire spreadsheet. I just want to know, what does this mean to me? What's the bottom line? Where is my voice going to come into play? What do I get to decide on? And so I think that taking that kind of raw data and then breaking it down, translating it to our community members in the way that they'll understand is potentially one of the most important things, especially for this role in particular.
I'll go next on that. Like I said, I run my own business, and I built the business from the bottom up, doing real estate appraisal. So I do have a very good idea of the real estate market and what's going on in this area and different areas and what's changing and how that kind of happens. But I was also started growing that business while working full time, while getting my hours, getting my certifications, and while working on my master's in the data science also. So I do all my own budgeting. I do everything. I've learned a lot with taxes. I've learned way more than I ever learned in my life, just running, kind of just building a business from the ground up and making a lot of mistakes along the way too on it. So I think that's really, we get the most education on it. So I like I said, I do that all for myself. And so I think the budgeting part and really growing this and growing communities and seeing different areas and what has worked and what hasn't worked in certain areas and what is beneficial for the community and for going to stock show and having it being, I'm really excited about being a year-round event center rather than just 2 weeks in January. I think that's a really exciting opportunity for me to be a part of that growth.
For me, like you said, I agree. And this is Nancy on what you said. And I think, like you heard, there's a lot of people that don't trust anymore. So we need to gain that trust. I'm more certified. I'm working with kids from a young age. So I always love to advocate for the kids now that it's been very rough for them. A lot of kids have been moving to another schools because of the health problem that it's been in here. But I don't have a problem reaching out to people, all the people that I know in our communities. I have no problem, and I really would like to engage again and encourage people to trust again. If you guys have something to offer to them, I mean, that would be a good potential for me, like to outreach to people, like, look, they're having this. So it might seem that it's not important, but I'll explain them, like Carolyn said, the way they would understand, not just or just provide that information, no, to explain them what it's all about. And about transparency, when something is, I'm that type of person, and I'm being honest, like if I don't see something that is good for my community, I don't even stand there or sit there. I just walk away because this is not good for my community. It's not good for me. So I'm very careful in that, and I observe very well. So that's my opinion.
Like Nancy said, we are worried for kiddos, but I'm worried for homeless. Because sometimes they said, I don't want a homeless here, but they have a problem. And we need to see what kind of problem they have. Because if we help them, I think we can get out, because when they have a problem to drink, when they have a problem to do drugs or whatever, we don't know why they do that. We don't know why, and if we don't try help them, they have to stay there all the time. I don't want to say I'm worried and I want to make a house for them, no. But I want to show them love them, because when you don't love you don't love nobody else. And I'm here to learn, and I'm here to grow up, and I'm sorry. I'm here to show people different things to love everybody. And I don't like when, I don't want to say I don't like when people said, oh, I don't like these people because he's a homeless. We don't know why he's a homeless. We don't ask him why you here, why you drink, why you make this kind of decision. We don't know. Because sometimes when you are sad, you do different things. You start drinking, and I think it's the best way to or show them how they can work. Because sometimes they knock my door and said, can I help you do something? And I said, okay, and I put them clean my yard. And I give it to them $20. And I think it's the best way, give it $20 for work and not for nothing.
Any other questions that the CAC has for our applicants?
I just want to thank everybody for their heartfelt replies to my question. This is AE again. And whatever happens with this application, I hope everyone continues to remain aware of the National Western Center and engage with more people out here in the neighborhoods and become part of the alliance with its greatest potential.
Well, with that, thank you, AE, and certainly from the National Western, I know all of our team here are very grateful for your interest, and stepping forward to volunteer is always an important step. So thank you. And we'll let you go. You don't have to spend the rest of the meeting. I think the CAC wants to talk a little bit about its processes, and so we'll, if you don't have to put that whole tomorrow. Yeah, you take some with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I take one to go?
Yeah, yeah, they're really, really good. So please encourage you to take them. And maybe we'll just take a quick little break while our guests depart, and also if anybody wants to grab a tamale from who's gonna continue with the rest of the meeting, do that too. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes. But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for this opportunity. No matter how things go, whoever is chosen to be on the board, I really am looking forward to the potential for a partnership with the Tepeyac Community Health Center and building out that community.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Do you, I'm sure, I know you're on the house. The bus-
You just leave it right there.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, just. Yeah, because that's one.
So people on Zoom, we'll just do about 2 more minutes and then we'll all come back and start again.
Yeah, well, because I got them beforehand, so that's why they're under, they went under my name.
Oh.
So that's why. Yeah.
So the 2 Juniors are gonna be for him.
They're for him, yes, yeah, for him, yeah. Because he got one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, him and I did like doing our notes together.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You're on Logan.
Yes.
Just like them, so I
Main Street. I think it's like the main, the go through. Okay. North.
Really impressive, yeah.
Okay,
So just lots of thoughtful replies.
west of you.
okay.
Responses.
Yeah, you'll probably see me walking my husky around all the time. The big husky. We all see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll chat more,
Okay.
but just, yeah, let Anthony, or Junior,
Yeah. We'll use it.
it's not on there. Oh, there it
Yes,
is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'll just text you.
Yeah.
just if you-
Okay, cool, thank you, thank you.
Gotcha, where did these tamales come from? They're really good.
Tamales by La Casita.
Oh, really?
Oh, they like us.
That's what my dad always does.
I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're my favorite.
Tejon, 30.
What did he say?
Have a good night.
Across from your cheese.
Is that different?
Is it a different space than La Casita? Yeah.
So Steve, next week.
Yeah, all good. But she has to go.
Yeah, sorry.
That's required.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we'll wait for Brad to come back. For those of you who walked away from your desk on the Zoom, we're getting back together.
I don't know.
So are you good at pulling up?
Maybe getting an idea about it.
And what comes after? Doing something else or just?
Maybe it's because
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Back.
Yeah, and then updates.
Maybe if it was one of the.
Do I lose Brad? Okay, so, let's go ahead and get started again. For everybody who is still, there you are in the Zoom room. What we'd like to do is, I'd like Anthony Aragon to talk about what the process is that the mayor's office is using in this, just to remind everybody about what that looks like. And then the second thing is, how the CAC would like to move forward. You have, the option of making a recommendation, no recommendation, some recommendations, whatever you all want, it's your process to do whatever you like. And so you really need to decide among yourselves how you'd like to proceed. So Anthony, will you remind us of what the mayor's office process is?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Catherine just said. This is your process. This is not our process. So the Romaine shared obviously all of the applicants with us, which you have seen tonight, which I sent via email. All of those candidates will be shared with the mayor. If the CAC Plus would like to send any sort of documentation that they're supportive of the applicants or not, it's really your process, but all of the applicants will be shared with the mayor next week. The mayor hopes to make a selection sometime next week, because once he makes the appointment, it does require city council confirmation, which will take approximately 4 weeks. And it was the mayor's wish to select someone before he leaves office. So I will leave it there. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Any questions about the mayor's process? Remember, all the applications go to the mayor's office. None of them came here. And then the mayor's office shared the names with Anthony. So they really were not in the loop other than what the mayor's office shared.
So when you say next week, Anthony, what day are you talking about?
I have no idea, just that the mayor wanted to make the selection in early May, and early May starts next week. And at one point I did want to clarify, and I did share this in the email. I did ask permission from each of the applicants to share their application and resume with all of you. I received a verbal confirmation from each of those applicants that it was okay to share that information with all of you. So I forgot to reiterate that.
AE.
Can you see my hand there?
Uh-huh. Go ahead, AE.
one of the cover, I guess it was the Salesforce covers on the documents that you sent, Anthony, was missing. Can you provide that? I can't remember which one because I've been having to go from place to place. I don't have all the resumes in front
Yeah,
of me.
it was, I can share that. It was likely Caroline, it was Caroline
Yeah,
Asha.
I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah, it's her.
The other thing I wanted to say in regarding, I just want to encourage everybody in the neighborhoods that are here and not, that are in this meeting and not in this meeting, to pay close attention. And if you feel that you want to communicate to the mayor's office and communicate to the city council members, communicate with one another. There are a few folks out here that are very likely going to be setting up some additional conversation with some of the, if not all of the applicants, just to get to know folks a little bit more and exchange thinking and that kind of a thing. So if the CAC, which I consider myself a vested observer of, feels as a group that it wants to make a recommendation, then I ask you to be completely transparent, express what the individuals are that are affiliated with that gesture, so that the city council and the mayor can see where the constituency is grouping itself and where it's coming from. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that well, I'm gonna have to cut myself off because as we all go through, my brain just went off into 6 directions. Partly because a pigeon just landed on my car, and I take no responsibility for losing my contract, given that my concentration. I had another comment. I'll come back to it. But anyway, I just want to encourage people to, oh, I know what it was. It just came back. Here we go. Can we get access to the letters of recommendation that were referenced in the resumes that you sent out?
I believe, if I'm not, well, and again, I don't want to misspeak here, but I believe that and Catherine, you can answer this because you've applied on the mayor's boards and commissions portal. It's references only. There are no letters of recommendation that would come that are part of their application process.
Oh, I thought some of them referenced emails or letters. I may be wrong.
No, it's just, you don't have to send a letter. All you have to do is list a number of names of people they could call if they so choose. And by they, I mean the mayor's office. And the question from Anna is how the candidate is selected. Does the mayor and the city council select, or the current CAC, or the community process? So I can answer that for you. It's the mayor's decision. It's a mayor's appointment. And it has and confirmed by the city council.
And Catherine, and Anna, I will share the information was shared with Councilwoman Sedavaca as well as her aide. They're both on the CAC distribution list, so they would have received all of the applicants as well, information as well.
Any suggestions on how you'd like to proceed? Anna, do you have a question or comment?
I actually, yeah, just one thing I don't know in regards to that recommendation letter piece afterwards. You mentioned that, hey, if any of the CIC Plus members have any additional recommendations, to include those. So I guess to kind of, I don't know if this was AE's original question, but I would really like to ask if maybe those letters could be, I don't know if the question is, the applications itself sent over to the mayor, if they do include letters of recommendation moving forward, could those be made transparent to the community, or would those be on personal recommendations directly to the mayor? I just want to understand a little bit that additional piece for the process.
Yes, those would go directly, those would go to the mayor. So if someone in this group wanted to send some sort of formal letter of recommendation as an individual, or even ask the CAC, as AE mentioned, that it would be important and transparent to share that information. But as of now, there are no letters of recommendation from anywhere or from anyone that are part of these 5 applicants. What you have is what the mayor's office has received, which is their Salesforce application and their resume. And included in the Salesforce application is 3 references, but not recommendations.
That's helpful. Thanks.
So it sounds like there's other conversations that are going to be happening in the community with these individuals, at least that's the indication you gave AE, and maybe there's other conversations you all have. I think for the whole group as collective, does the CAC Plus want to send any endorsement for any of these candidates, or are you wishing to let the process that's happening in the community proceed? And if individuals want to write letters of endorsement, that's their own business, I would presume. And it's just whether this body wants to do anything differently. No? No?
So do you all want to collectively endorse a candidate, or do we do it as individuals?
This is Angela, and I don't feel comfortable that the CAC as a whole endorse anyone at this point. I think we just let the chips fall where they may. I'm not familiar with any of these people who applied to be able to say one is better than the other. I mean, they were all excellent applications. They all had good answers. So I personally don't feel comfortable as a member of the CAC to be able to endorse anyone at this moment. So that's my response. I don't know how the rest of you feel. Thank you.
I agree. I feel like it should be individual.
Any disagreement with that? Anybody who feels like there should be a collective endorsement? Okay.
I don't know. I think that's something that we agreed to, that we were gonna do like a collective thing in the past
I think it was like discussed, but never settled. Yeah.
So what should we do now? Are we gonna be like individually choosing whoever we want, or just let it happen how it has to happen?
Yeah, they'll go
The
to
mayor
the,
has to choose, because that was one of also of the problems that last time that that Kat was saying, that why the mayor has to choose, that we want to have a voice there. We wanted to support whoever was gonna stay or who we were gonna choose. Now it's totally different. Now we saying that it has to be the mayor again. So, I mean, we really have to be sure what we really want, because whatever happens, we don't want the same thing to happen again. Oh, the mayor chose and we didn't get our voice there and whatever. We want to really keep going, because it was a really hard process last year. We didn't get a lot of things done because we were trying to figure out how to have a better process. And that's something that we talk a lot about, that we were gonna do a collective thing. Now it's like, okay, let's go again with the mayor and he can do whatever he wants. I mean, we know he's the one that is gonna choose anyway, and then city council. But I feel like now what happened to all the conversations that we had, all the planning that we did. And I'm saying because I've been here in every meeting. And there's been a lot of things said, and now it's again, we're going back to the mayor, just whoever he wants to choose. And then we're not really agreeing now that we said that. I know it wasn't really said that we were gonna do it, but I thought we did. But I mean, I'm open to whatever everyone chooses. It's just that I don't want in the future, when they choose someone, that we're gonna be complaining again, why the mayor chose and why this, and then we're gonna start delaying another process.
So Anne, I know you had your hand raised, and then Angela.
I just, I hear the argument about not putting all of our support behind one person, because it is why we had all those conversations. I kind of agree with that, but I do think because we have so many candidates, it's going to become more difficult to settle on one. It would probably take months to do that. So perhaps a solution is like, if one person wants to give wants to say, I support this person, we can speak to who, from what point of view. So like, I'm a CAC member, so I can say, I support this person and I'm on the CAC. And I also think what's possible, if there is a group of community members who want to put their support behind one candidate, perhaps there can be like a collective, gather signatures and say, we all support this particular candidate. So, that could be community wide. If you could gather a lot of signatures, that might be really helpful to the mayor.
Am I next?
Angela, and then AE.
Thank you. Sandra, I think one of the things we had such a hard disagreement on was that you were the only pick. You were the only person. And I'm not saying this anything against you, but you were the only person. And so, and I think part of that, the argument stemmed from the fact that there were people in the community who didn't know, other than the CAC members, that the seat was open. I think that was part of the problem. And now we have 5 people from different neighborhoods, all 3 different neighborhoods, which is great, who have applied. And I personally, I agree with Catherine. I don't remember us all coming to the agreement where we would support one person. So I don't know how we proceed with that, but that is my recollection of what happened. And I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
AE?
Yeah, I agree with the distinction that Angela just made, and I agree with the transparency that Anne was addressing, which was kind of what I was driving at. I think it's fine for people to talk to the city council people. The city council is the final decision maker on this. I think it's fine for people to identify themselves in groups, in affiliation, as current or former members of the CAC or the CAC plus, and the more exchange, the better, as far as framing the, getting involved with the thinking of the city council people around the criteria for selection and what people's hopes are for what the position can do and where the National Western Center project can go from here, with the authority board being a central influence in that. So I also don't feel that it was a mandate that there had to be a consensus. I think in some sense it's better if there's a broader engagement than just the limited number of people that have been involved in the CAC or the CAC plus, with people that have been involved in the CAC working to communicate with more people out in the neighborhoods, showing the resumes, asking them to go independently. And I think it's fine what Anne is suggesting, gathering signatures, and that's part of the thinking consistently with these types of things, is trying to be real transparent about who's offering up their support and why. So I do think it's a more open process, not as robust and not at all what it could have been. And I think that's a legitimate thing to be aware of. But I think that there's a proportion of remedy to the difficulties that have occurred prior to this. And yes, the mayor is the one that makes the appointment to the city council, and the city council decides. And that is something that's going to be that way and lessen until it's changed. And that's certainly not something to take up now. But I think the more people that get to talk to the applicants, the better. And I appreciate the responsiveness to getting the resumes out and that kind of a thing, because that's important. And we have the contact information for them out here too.
So it seems like there isn't a consensus on endorsing any one candidate, that there's a lot of processes. You can do it individually, you could do it in a small group, you can do sort of a letter from an organization. But you've had now the opportunity to see 5 really, I think, impressive candidates. And so it's sort of up to all of you within your community, how you may want to proceed. And if we can support you in any way, Anthony or any of us here, if we can support you in any way of doing that, we're certainly glad to do that. You're aware of the timeline and the processes that the mayor's office is doing. So if you're ready to move on, I just want to be sure I'm not rushing you, because I don't want to rush you. Is there anything that's left unsaid, or any question that you may want to ask or make?
I just want to comment something. I don't want to be the one that is bringing things up or anything. It's just that I'm really happy that we don't have to endorse anyone. I was in disagreement when it was talked about, because I don't feel like we have the power to endorse anyone, because I think we saw 5 different people, and they all have their different strengths. So I feel, I was feeling bad that we were gonna vote today, because I didn't want to vote. But I'm saying that we really have to be sure that these are 5 people that we're happy with. That we're not gonna be later saying, oh, I don't like it, oh, maybe, if we're really happy with them, I'm happy with them, with the 5 of them. Whoever stays for me is fine, because I want to keep moving forward. I want to keep doing all this process and all these things. I just want everyone to be sure that these are 5 people that we want. It doesn't matter who stays, but these are really 5 people that we want, and whoever stays, that's good for me, because I really didn't want to vote. I was just mentioning about the endorsement that it was said and everything. But for me, it's better that we don't endorse anyone, because I believe as individuals, they have their own strengths, and they have to bring something to the table, whoever it is. And that's it.
But I just want to think, I think that we did make a difference. We didn't change the entire systemic process, but at least we got the candidates in front of us. We got to ask them questions. And if individually folks want to, recommend, a candidate, then we have the opportunity to do so. And I just think that makes the difference from the last time, and so.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
And this is your all's meeting, and I totally respect that. One thing, and I appreciate the conversation. One thing that I would throw out there is the opportunity to also, if you don't endorse anybody, or if you do whatever route you go, it might be, just think about it. It might be worth putting down how appreciative the group is to the mayor for the opportunity to be able to weigh in on the individuals, because it's such a unique opportunity. If you have the opportunity to bend the mayor's ear, and he or she in the future is going to be looking at this group around future applicants and opportunities to weigh in, and the fact that you just are supporting the process, that you have great applicants, and that you've had this opportunity to talk with them, and however that language is, that's also a pretty unique scenario and situation that this group also has, to be able to voice that opinion to the administration, to say, we hope that type of communication will maybe be able to move forward into the future. It puts a unique opportunity there. And I think what it might also do is ensure that the process stays different than the last time, and that it can continue in this new pathway, if that is something that just wanted to throw out there, that even if that type of communication might be shared in any way or possible, or if not, just something to consider.
Thank you. I'm gonna move us on, and the reason we have to is that Jen has to leave in about 10 minutes, and she has some information that you will need as CAC members to just so that you'll know what's happening on the campus. And so we can come back to this issue if you like, if that's okay. AE, I see your hand is still raised. I don't know if it's.
Well, it's very quick. It's very quick. Can you, I don't know if you can hear me. I have a very quick response. I'm sorry, I don't recognize the gentleman. Are you on the authority board?
I am,
The-
yes, my neighbor's house.
There is a tradition that started at the mayor's desk with the National Western Center inputting into the formation of the board, which was actually pretty robust as part of the precedent with the National Western Center development. I feel like this is more of a return to something that was lost. Certainly appreciation for input is important, but let's not skip a stone across deep waters here. This has been a course correction that still needs some correction. We don't have to subordinate to that at this point. This is something that should be the stature of the communication, and I think there are folks that remember the roundtable with Mayor Hancock that fed into what the criteria should be for the board, and some of this needs to be brought forward again, and I think in future conversations we can do that. So just out of respect for the longevity of the process, and this is not new, but it is being resurfaced and can be strengthened.
Thank you, AE. Okay, I'm gonna hurry us along, and Jen, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Jen Walborn with the mayor's office. I'm here to talk a little bit about the equestrian center, to provide an update on where we are in the provision of that facility for this campus. Quick orientation, phases 1 and 2 is a reference to the master plan for the National Western Center. It was adopted by City Council in 2017. The cumulative work to date, you can see here, the major facilities that are completed are the stockyards and the Stockyard Event Center. As well as if you were here, you could look out the window, lots of construction going on the livestock center. The third major facility of the site in phases 1 and 2 is intended to be the equestrian center. And as I let you guys know, last year, not a big surprise to folks who are working in construction these days, lots of inflation and escalation in cost. We go to the next slide. And so what we're facing is that the bond proceeds from the 2C vote from 2015 are not enough to complete the equestrian center, which is what we talked about last summer when I was here. So the city has undertaken a review of what options we have to pay for the equestrian center. And you can go to the next slide. And those two options were to use what we call 2C revenues. Those are not bond proceeds, but they're the same revenue sources as we use to pay off the bonds. I know I'm going really, really fast. This is the beginning of a longer conversation, so we can come back to some of this and unpack it. The 2C revenues in general refer to lodger's tax, short-term car rental tax, and prepared food and beverage tax. So we call those the 2C revenues. First thing they do is pay off the debt. And then there's an obligation to send money to the general fund. And then there's operations and maintenance that comes to both here and the convention center. And then there's additional tax revenues available. And so what we're talking about doing is using those revenues to pay for the equestrian center. So it's not a new source, but it would require new action. So the two things we looked at was a COP is a certificate of participation. It's a type of debt. The city would issue COPs and build an equestrian center using the 2C revenues to pay it back. That's becoming our backup plan. Option number 2 that we looked at is to include a hotel in the program. That was an idea that we talked about last summer also. That was brought to us by a third party that was interested in developing a hotel. We don't want to and cannot, in fact, just do a deal with somebody who comes to us. We need to do a procurement. The authority would have to do a procurement. We're all under the same procurement rules on the campus as far as the city-owned assets. So we undertook, you can go to the next slide. So we undertook a hotel feasibility study that looked at what kind of delivery model, what the construction costs might be. the point of the work that was done was just to see if it was possible. Not to come up with exactly what the deal would be, but just to see if it was feasible, if it was reasonable to expect that we could build a hotel and that the hotel would generate revenue that would pay for its cost. Having a hotel on, so what we determined through this work and then other work, like, is there space on the site for a hotel? We did that kind of work. What we concluded is that a hotel is feasible, but only with tax exempt financing. So that means the city or the authority would have to do the financing. We can't rely on private financing because it's more expensive. So what we did was we undertook sort of a review of, why don't we just go to the next one? So we undertook a review of whether having a hotel at the site was a good idea or not. And what we came up with was that the hotel has some really important features that make us want to go to the trouble of seeing if it works. Those important features are that it activates the campus, so it brings more people to the campus to spend time here on more occasions, right? So that there's somebody in the open space, so that there are people walking on the sidewalks and people using our facilities. The second reason is that activation of campus spaces drives revenue. One of the challenges that we have here on the campus is making enough money to pay for the operations and maintenance of the campus without direct support from the city, the stock show, and CSU. This is an expensive proposition. And one of the points of the framework agreement, one of the important goals of the framework agreement is that this place find a way to drive revenue to pay those expenses. So one of the things that we think that one of the things that we would expect from a hotel is that it would drive use of the venues on the campus, which drives revenue to the authority for operations and maintenance costs. In addition to that, we would really push any operator of a hotel to drive revenue of that hotel to pay for the debt, for the capital costs, to pay for the operations and maintenance of the hotel. And we hope one day make enough money that it actually generates additional dollars that would go either to the city or to the authority for the benefit of the campus. So really what we're looking at here are ways to create new revenue sources on the campus and provide the activation on the campus. So go ahead. So the next steps, all of this undertaking will require a procurement. And that procurement would look for construction of the equestrian center, construction of the hotel, operations and maintenance of the hotel. And what we're proposing to do is for the city to enter into a cooperation agreement with the authority that governs the procurement of those things. It sets out very basic parameters of a procurement, and then it provides funding for initial pre-development. So we have $5 million set aside in the capital budget for National Western that hasn't been spent because it was initially intended to be spent for stipends for the teams that were bidding on the triangle. So when the city decided not to move forward with that, we didn't pay those stipends, and the city still has that money. So what we're proposing to do is use that money to pay for two things. One, the cost of the authority in running the procurement. And I want to come back to that in just a second. And two, paying for initial pre-development costs. Should we get through a procurement and pick a partner, then we want to be able to generate enough work product on cost and revenue projections to be able to decide whether this is a good idea or not. And we think that money helps us get to a point where we have enough information to make that decision.
Will you define pre-development just?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure I completely understand.
Absolutely. So what would happen is that the city and the authority would work collaboratively according to this cooperation agreement, probably through the summer, to come up with a request for proposals. That RFP would be put on the street, and we would wait some months to get responses. At the time that we receive those responses, we would evaluate those probably based on qualifications and experience, as well as some competition on price, probably on the cost of the pre-development work. Pre-development work, the city's already done 60% of the design of the equestrian center. We don't intend to just throw that work out the door. We would want them to build on that, and what we're really working toward is a final cost, so that we are sure of what we're buying, how much we can afford to buy, that we're buying the right thing. So the pre-development work is enough design work that leads to enough cost work, so that we can say, yes, that's the building or buildings that we want. And yes, we understand how much they're going to cost, so that we're not going blindly into this build. So the next thing that's gonna happen is that I'm gonna start briefing council members next week. You're getting the first crack at a lot of this information. This cooperation agreement requires council approval because of the funding. So normally we don't go to council before we have a conversation about putting an RFP on the street. We don't need council approval to put an RFP out. But here, what we're doing is we're saying we want the authority to run this. And we want to supply enough money to the authority to do that. So that's why it requires council approval. We are hoping to go to council committee in mid-May. And then I want to come back to sort of why the authority. The city could do this. We feel really strongly that the right conversation around what development happens on this side, outside of what the city can pay for with the 2C bond proceeds, that this is the right place to have that conversation. And that is, I'm sorry, I'm taking up the time that Steve was gonna have today to talk about what you guys have talked about previously, the process for input into a development process. And so using a process like that, leveraging the process that Steve and Brad have developed is one of the reasons why we think this is such an important place for that conversation to reside. So that the community does have input into not just the sort of end result, but the upfront. So this is the first step in starting that conversation. There is no deal going to council. There is, the city has a sort of a high level view of how a deal might work, but we have not talked to potential bidders. We haven't talked to potential partners. This is just the beginning. And so what we're asking city council to do is to approve this cooperation agreement between the city and the authority and fund that work. I think it looks like there's questions, but I can't read them.
This chat is related to the previous topic, but
okay.
yeah, but
Okay.
by allowing the authority to go through this procurement process, we will be doing a lot of work with CAC in the future meetings. This is just the first step of many, really, with the CAC and through that procurement process. So we're not making any decisions tonight. This is just an FYI.
And I do have, one of the things I'll bring next time is, I have a slide that we're working on that shows how many sort of exit ramps there are. There will be at least 2 additional city council approvals required to get through. If we have a successful procurement, there will be additional funding required, both for the procurement and for the and then for the actual construction if we get there. So there's more touch points for council, as well as off ramps where the city and the authority can decide together. We're not seeing what we need to see out of this. We're going to go a different direction. We're going to make a different choice for how to deliver the equestrian center.
So I remember that when we talked about the equestrian center and the potential hotel opportunity, that we talked about a procurement process, and Steve, you introduced what that procurement process and all of the obligations that would be included in that procurement process. And in the next meeting, what we hope to do is come back to that procurement process to show how the community, and particularly the CAC, will be involved in that procurement process. And so whatever happens, for example, on Cup North will also happen in the procurement with the equestrian center. So this first step is just to make sure that there is a something, right?
Yep.
To procure.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. This is just a first step toward getting everybody on the same page about, kind of what direction we're going and
Angela has a question.
Oh, sure.
Will the CAC and community be notified before this goes to council? We will come back to CAC next month. That's prior to the cooperation agreement going through the council process. No, going to final city council. Final, okay.
yeah, so if we, Angela, I'm sure you all can send a note out about what the timing of that is. I think we'll be a council committee. I think we'll be there in mid-May. And so as soon as I know that that's going to be on the agenda, I have done some preliminary briefings of city council members, but honestly, that's really going to start on Monday. I think we have all 13 or maybe 12 of them in the next week and a half. So we kind of need to get through that before I know for sure that it's going to council committee on that schedule. But as soon as we know what that date is, I have no problem, providing that to the CAC list.
Could I add to something? But I think it's really important, Angela, to remember what the ask is of council and what it's not. The ask of council is for the dollars to be appropriated for us to start the process.
Right.
And that's why we've been presenting the development process that Steve has talked about the last couple of meetings. Because that includes having CAC engage and provide input on what goes into the RFP. And then also to engage and have input on and be a part of the selection committee and the actual selection process. So this just would kick off the process. And I believe in a way that at least what I've been hearing from this group and lots of individuals, in a way that really is truly community driven. That's why I'm excited about it. But we have to have the resources to even start the process.
Anna has a question.
I'm sorry,
I'll stop sharing.
so Anna?
Sure, is now a good time for some quick questions? I know we're over time, but.
Go ahead, Anna.
I just kind of wanted to ask in regards to the RFP, will that already include a written in CBA, a community benefits agreement in advance of that? And I guess my follow-up to that is really just the timing on this. I wonder if it'd be more prudent to wait for the next voting member for the board of directors with the National Western Authority to be selected so that this process can kind of go forward that way. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with the timeline for this piece. And just like I mentioned, whether or not a CBA is being considered for this project.
So I guess my response on it to the CBA question is I like to start with, it depends on what the things are that the community wants as benefits out of this. We have to be thoughtful here, I think, about the city is the owner as well as the regulator here. And so if it's something that the city can deliver, then we want that to be a part of the RFP that we require. So that would be a part of the conversation that you all would have at CAC to make sure that we put in the RFP and required of the developer. And remember, this developer, or maybe I probably wasn't very clear. The city is the owner of all the facilities here, would remain the owner of all the facilities here. And the financing here would be the city and the authority. We're not asking for private financing. So there's no equity partner here who's making money to sort of put in the deal. So there may be things that we want, there for sure will be things that we will want to, as a group, decide to put in the RFP and require, get built, get funded, get, whatever the case is. That being said, if there are things, the long-term operator of the hotel on the site is the relationship that would be here over time. And so if there are things that we want to ask of that hotel operator, then I think we're certainly open to that conversation about whether those are best delivered through the RFP, where that can be built into the cost structure, or whether that should be separate from separate from the RFP and would be an agreement between a community entity and the operator of the hotel. Is that fair?
That's one scenario. It could be that. Yeah.
I mean, right. I'm just thinking the only entity that's gonna be here long-term is the city, the authority, and the hotel operator. Right, for the community to deal with is what I'm saying. Yeah, to be a partner with the community. So Anna, I don't.
Got
I'm
it.
not-
Good catch there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to dodge the question. I just think it sort of depends on what the thing is that you want delivered, and then we'll figure out sort of how to deliver it.
And those are the conversations we'll have in the next several months.
Right. Yeah, and that's why we think that conversation belongs here, because you all will have adopted a process to address those those wants and needs and concerns of the community, and we want to make sure those get addressed.
And the new board member will be here on board for the important part, which is the crafting of the RFP, because that's where we're gonna have conversations with the community. That's where their community's desires and needs are going to be represented, is in crafting the RFP. So to me, the board member will be in the seat when the most important decisions are made.
Perfect. That's awesome to hear, Brad. Thank you.
Anna, I'm sorry, and everybody else, I'm so sorry. I have a kid I have to pick up at swim practice, and if I don't leave now, I'm gonna be late.
You have to go.
Jules, you have your hand up?
She gets salty.
Yeah.
And drive safe to swim practice. I think this is probably more for the conversation around the RFP. That's great that there will be a board member in place when that process happens. Do you think there'd be a possibility that it could be written that some proceeds from the hotel go into the community investment fund? That they contribute towards that?
Yeah, so that,
Yes.
the answer is yes, that will be a requirement. Any retail sales, things of that nature, that's already required by the framework agreement. That that needs to be available for people to round up. We can talk about other options beyond the roundup in the framework agreement during the next couple of months, that discussion.
So this is just the very, very, very beginning of the discussion, and what Jen described is the first step of actually getting the money that will help support all of these processes that we're just now talking about. And what Steve wanted, we didn't have time for Steve to go through this, but there's that procurement process is going to include a lot of discussions with you over the course of the next few months about what that procurement or that RFP needs to look like. What should be in it? What are the community's views on that? What are the things that are already required by the city to be in it? What can be added to that? And so those discussions are going to be really, really important. But the first step has to be going to city council to acquire those pre-development monies to make that process possible. Does that makes any other, I hope I didn't confuse anybody. Yeah. Okay, we're way over time, and I wanted just to respond, or Brad, if you would respond to AE's question.
Yeah, so everybody, AE asked the question, is it correct to assume that you / the authority office will refrain from making any endorsement of any board, an endorsement of any board applicant to the mayor's office? My understanding from discussions in past meetings of the CAC plus was you would only write a letter of recommendation to support a CAC recommendation. Please address this. So yes, that is correct. So the only, we had committed that if this committee did an endorsement as a group, that I and the authority office would write a letter supporting the committee's, the CAC's endorsement. If the CAC is not going to do either a holistic endorsement or a specific endorsement of one or more candidates, we will be silent on that decision. Unless directed otherwise from this body.
Thanks, thanks for going on record with that, Brad, because that puts to peace conversation in trying to explain the potential conflict of interest between the authority office and board selection and things like that. It's a process people are having a growing understanding of how an authority board actually operates relative to an established 501c3. So we're all learning this together. So I appreciate that clarification.
Well, thank you for spending more time than you expected this evening. I hope you had a tamale for those of you. I hope you had something to snack on while you were attending this meeting. And I think a lot of good work today. We've heard some really wonderful presentations by the potential board members, and just want to thank you for spending the evening with us. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.